So, Jared, one of the myths that you hear a lot in the whole bullying world is that bullying causes irreparable damage to our kids. What are your thoughts on that?
Absolutely, that is a sentiment that sort of gets bandied around these days, and I think it's almost a dangerous idea because it becomes a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy. If you sit down with your son and you tell him that what he's going through right now as a young boy is going to affect him for the rest of the life, then chances are that it is going to affect him for the rest of his life. If you sit down and you say that this is a temporary set of events, and through your relationship with your family, through some of the stuff that you're going to learn in these videos, we can show you ways to deal with that and get over it and move on from it. And they're going to be a more well-equipped and healthy young adult moving forward.
Yeah, that's right. And for me, I also think that, at schools, we try and put the message out that bullying's damaging to people. And that message is aimed to try and prevent bullying happening. But when it happens, if you go and say to someone, you're damaged because you were bullied, that's not exactly going to inspire confidence. And it's not even true. You can overcome bullying just like you can overcome whatever other things you face in life. It doesn't mean that you're permanently and irreparably broken.
Absolutely. We should all be about empowering the students who have gone through bullying rather than saying to them that, well, you are damaged and you have suffered this terrible thing.
You're wrecked. We should throw this one out and get a new one. Like, that's not true, is it?
Absolutely. It's a strange mindset, and you can see where it's coming from in a good place if we are trying to stamp out bullying, but once it's happened, it's not really helpful. All right, Michael, so there's this myth floating around that if your son's getting bullied, he's powerless in the face of bullying and there's nothing that he can do about it. What would your response to that idea be?
Yeah, you've always got choice. Okay, so this idea that, my son was powerless. Well, actually he had choices, he just didn't know how to use them. And as soon as your child thinks he's powerless, then he's going to act powerlessly. And that's not what you want from him.
Right, so once we accept that this has happened, we need to make it really clear to our sons that there are steps in the future that he can take to stop this thing from repeating itself.
Yeah, that's right. He's always going to have choices, and you mightn't have a million good choices. You might only have a couple of choices, or those choices might be after an event, which is not ideal, but you've always got choice. So you've always got power, you've always got choice. You're not powerless. As soon as you think you're powerless, you've lost the game. You've got to be focused on where to from here.
Absolutely. It's a learning experience. It's equipping yourself with the tools for survival and to better yourself in the future.
That's right. And you don't have to win every battle. You just have to be standing at the end of the day. Just survive it.
Yeah.
So, Jared, there's another myth out there that we should be expecting the bullies to apologise to the victims. What's your take on that?
Well, this is a little bit controversial, but the crux of this issue, I think, is that to me, and to bullies especially, words are just words. They're not consequences. So absolutely, I would be all for a bully taking responsibility for their actions, but mumbling out and, I'm sorry, Tim, is not really taking responsibility for me.
I guess, especially for teenage boys or, the sort of kids who are going to be bullying your son, they're going to respond to consequences, not words. And also when the school says, the bullies apologise, it's like the school goes, right, solved.
Yeah, and they wash their hands of the whole issue.
It's not solved. He's just given a forced apology so that he can start it again tomorrow.
So I think an important step here is to set realistic expectations for our sons who are being bullied. So if they expect the bully to apologise to them every time and they expect that to the end of it, I think it's going to be quite a rude shock for them when they go back to school the next week and it keeps happening. Yeah. So what are some of these realistic expectations that we can set for our sons? So saying, okay, this has happened, here's a consequence, and then we can move on from there.
So we want our kids set up with expectations that are realistic, that a bully's going to apologise is not realistic. It's just going to basically give power to the bully that, they can give me their apology or they can't. Again, all the power's with the bully. We want our sons to be in the mindset of whether they apologise or not, that person's a goose, whatever. We want our sons to be in the mindset of taking control of what they can take control of, not of waiting for someone else to come and give them something. So there's another myth, Jared, that a lot of the time people feel like it's unfair, that the bullies always seem to get away with doing the wrong thing and that there's no consequence on the bullies and life just feels unfair like that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that might be the case for the short term, okay? So particularly in the school setting, okay, yes, it does seem unfair. They get to clown around, they get to bully your son, they get to get away with it scot-free with very little consequences these days as well. But that is only in that school environment. Once they move away from that and they're no longer the big fish in the small pond, real life does start to sink in and some terrible consequences start to happen for them.
Yeah, that's true. And also with that, you've got this mindset, the bully got away with it. They didn't get away with it. I know bullies who are in their 30s, you know, who when they were kids, they were such bullies that everyone thought they got away with it. Look at them now. Generally speaking, those people as adults, they're going to have poor social skills. So out of that, they're never going to get a good job, okay? They've got a lack of self-discipline that it wrecks their financial skills. They go from relationship to relationship because they can't keep the same girlfriend for more than 6 months without wrecking that relationship. And they grow up to be really poor parents, you know, because it's not like bullies usually change. If they're a bully when they're a teenager, they're likely to continue to be a bully beyond that. And the idea that they're not going to have a consequence, they're causing their own consequence. The rest of their life is a consequence. So we as parents or kids who've been bullied, we don't have to feel like we have to make it right. They actually make it right in the end themselves.
Yeah, it's a self-destructive spiral that they're getting into. So, you know, the consequences of that, they may not be apparent the next week, but in the next 5 years, the next 10 years, things start to show up.
So be patient. It'll work.